Well, the Winter Olympics are around the corner, and the U.S. women's national team are the favorites this year. And making her first Olympic team is Taylor Heise of the PWHL's Minnesota Frost, and she, of course, joins us now. Taylor, good to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. So tell us how you're feeling heading to Italy.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited. Obviously, it's a once in a lifetime experience for the normal person in life, but I obviously it's something I've dreamed about for a very long time. So I'm super excited. I want to be like a kid in a candy store, just take it all in. Really excited for the outfits, really excited for the games. Like I've never been to Italy, so there's just a lot of excitement on my plate right now.
And the pasta and all the food that you're going
Yes,
to be consuming as
yes.
well. Now, this, of course, is the first Olympic Games since the PWHL began back in 2024. There's 16 players, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that are going to be a part of the Olympics that are in the league. What do you sort of feel like the PWHL has sort of brought in terms of getting you guys experienced and ready for this thing?
Yeah, I think it starts with the accessibility of, us being able to be seen by those around the country, those around the world. We have people that tune in from everywhere, every single game that we play. And then twofold, it obviously brings more competition. In years past, I obviously didn't make the last Olympics, but in years past, I know that they did some sort of a system where you just practice with those same 25 people for like 6 months. And as much as that can do for you, I think now with the games that we play on a weekly basis. You're playing against the best, you're playing with the best. I just think it's going to level up all international experience, whether that's the World Championships or the Olympics.
I mentioned obviously the US team, the favorites right now, Canada second, but I had to look this up. The US and Canada have won every Olympic gold medal since the sport was added in 1998, which is just a crazy stat to think about. What is it about these two countries that have owned this since this started in the Olympics?
Yeah, it's amazing. I remember, tuning in. I really thought and knew about hockey in the Olympics when I was like 12 or 13. So back in 2013 is when I kind of first started tuning in. But um, it's just dynamic. I think obviously Minnesota's had a great premise of girls that go to the Olympics, men as well. And I just think us in the U.S., find the passion for hockey, and Canada is the exact same way as well. They live and breathe it up there as well. So I think there's just been great ways where girls have gotten involved in the sport, and both USA Hockey and Hockey Canada do a good job of giving back and making sure that people are able to train the way they deserve to train, get paid to do so, and represent their country at the highest possible level. So I think all that kind of, goes together and does that. But also I don't want to, I want to be remiss to say that, other countries aren't making their way up. Like we have had some really tough games with some really, really tough opponents. Czechia, Switzerland, Finland, Sweden, all them. I think, everyone's bringing their A game now after they realize like we now have the PWHL and everything in between. There's just great ways to get better.
What are your thoughts on this arena in the for the Olympics in Italy? Nobody even knows if it's really going to be finished in time. Like, is there a concern from the players' perspective about like what's this going to look like?
Yeah, we know that the NHL has made some comments, and obviously, well, so like you want your ring to be finished and have it be, perfection for the Olympics. I know some people have looked at the screen in the middle of the arena that's quite small, it being 3 feet short. We've had calls with our teams and just kind of talked about how that's an uncontrollable. Everyone's going to play with the arena being 3 feet shorter, so kind of uncontrollable, and you just want to come out and figure it out. I think our team's so skilled that whether you make it 15 feet shorter or 1 foot shorter, I think that regardless of that, I think we're going to be able to be at our best, and that just is what it is. And sometimes you can't control things like that. So it is kind of funny though. Like at the end of the day, you've had a ton of time to figure it out, and this just seemingly is something that happens. But we're just so excited to get there. I don't think 3 feet's gonna make our lives yes or no at the end of the day.
Let's move to the PWHL now in its third year. I mean, you've actually called it the toughest, most exciting league out there. What is it about this league that has grown so much in 3 years that it is the best league out there?
Yeah, I think it's important to note when I was in college, there was two leagues at that time. So, not only are you fighting for accessibility in the sport, but you're fighting between two different leagues of getting people to be your fans. And I think now that Mark Walter and his group bought both leagues, and we now have the PWHL, especially in the US and Canada, like the fan bases and everything that we've built up so far has been amazing. And I do want to say, like, it's been 3 years, but there's still so many amazing things that we're going to push towards and fight for in the future. Obviously, the WNBA, the NBA, NHL didn't grow overnight. So we're still really optimistic of everything in the future that's going to continue to happen We just had our first expansion last year. I'm sure we're going to have 2 to 4 more teams this next year. So I just think there's so much positivity around the sport. And I know in Minnesota, which is all I know because this is where I've been my whole life, how much love and support we feel in the state of hockey, and just feel so loved and supported. And I think every time we come to the rink, it's so much fun because we're getting 5 to 15,000 people at each game, no matter if it's a
Mhm.
Wednesday at 2 o'clock or a Sunday at 6. So it's just been super exciting.
Yeah, let's go to that for a second because I've just been seeing record attendance numbers for these games, and I'm curious how much does it have to be with this groundswell of interest and support we're seeing across the board in women's sports. I mean, the WNBA, yeah, they might be having a CBA sort of lockout situation now, but they just had record TV ratings,
Yep.
record attendance ratings, and we're seeing that with all women's sports right now.
I want people to say women's sports is a movement, but in my opinion, it just hasn't gotten the accessibility that other sports and other, men's leagues have gotten. And I think now with how many people want to dictate where women's sports is going, and give money to it, and try to support it in any way, it's been awesome. And I know our league feels that way. I think regardless of if Minnesota had a team back before Mark Walter bought both groups, which we did, the Minnesota Whitecaps, they still did really great. And I think it's just the movement of it, and it's the accessibility, and there's people wanting to invest in it. And I know for us, like, we invest in our sport by making the product so good. We want to be out there not necessarily for ourselves and to win, but we want to be out there to show young girls that this is a possibility for them. And it's so fun to see things like girls to signs at games. That's one of my favorite things. I go around and I look at every single one of them, and I know the girls know that because they try to make eye contact with me and point at their sign. But yeah, it's been amazing, and I think that women's movement, and people trying to invest in the sport has really led us to be super successful as well. And I think another thing to point out is we do takeover tour games. Um,
Mhm.
so that's kind of a way for our league to figure out where to expand, and if people are really loving it in certain markets. So I know when I played in Denver last year, we set on a U.S. attendance record, and then Seattle broke it, and then someone else broke it, and it just consistently is getting broken by different teams in the league. And being a part of those games is unbelievable.
Obviously, you're seeing so much growth in the first couple of years, but what else do you think needs to be done to keep this growth going? Like, what other sort of avenues or places that you want to see them go, maybe besides just expansion?
Absolutely. It's a great question. I think, the professionalism of it. I think continuing to make sure all the players are getting the most professional environments, the best support we can get, whether that's flights. We understand we're not all Caitlin Clark and can get private flights, but I do think like we can continue to take different avenues to make sure the player experience is great, continue to take better avenues to make sure the fan experience is great, making sure we have people that are answering the phone, answering emails if, people want to ask questions and things like that. And then also just making sure the on ice product's great, making sure, we're playing at ideal times. And it's not 3 p.m. on a Wednesday where kids can't get out of school, or even a 4 p.m. on a Wednesday where people can't get out of work. So I think there's a lot of things that we can continue to get better at, merchandise sales. But all this being said, it's only year 3. And,
Mhm.
there's so much fun stuff coming in. And I know a lot of things behind the scenes are really, really improving as, days go on. We have a CBA we have as well. We have people that are fighting for our rights as well every day. So I'm proud to be a part of the PWHL, and I know all of my teammates are as well.
Indiana head football coach Kirk Sidnetti made a lot of headlines about his Chipotle order ahead of the game. We found out he eats the same exact Chipotle order every single day for years, which, by the way, is a very boring Chipotle bowl. I was looking it up, and apparently you too have a Chipotle order as
I do.
well. You have a taco order, which I'm
Yep.
also impressed with because nobody eats the tacos,
No
I feel
one
like, as much
eats
as
the
the burritos.
tacos. I know. It's a tough thing. So even when I was a kid, like my parents would always get Chipotle. It's a great way to get your protein in. And me and my brothers, we were big eaters. So it's just easier to not have to go somewhere and pay $50 million to get a
Mhm.
lunch. So we would always eat a Chipotle. And now that I'm able to be sponsored by them and they get to kind of feed me for my years that I'm with them, it has been amazing. And I get to share that with my family and with my friends and with my team. So I do eat. I have my order is 3 tacos, and everyone thinks that it's a kid order, but I'm telling you right now, like, it is amazing, and I love it because you can always save it if you want to eat just 1, 2, or 3. I always get 3 tacos because the girl needs to eat. But yeah, I love it. And then obviously there are chips and guac, chips and queso. I'm always there with that too.
I love this. Okay, so hold on. I have the order. It's three tacos, soft. You don't do the hard ones.
No.
Chicken, fresh tomato salsa, corn salsa, sour cream, cheese, and lettuce. By the way, that's 50 grams of protein. But is this the same order all the time?
I will switch it up. So they now do sides of protein. So I'll go and
Mhm.
get chicken or steak, and then I'll make a quesadilla at home after practice. And then sometimes I'll get tacos, and sometimes I'll get their quesadillas that they have. I try to keep it changing so that I don't get sick of any one thing because obviously you can't get sick of Chipotle, but you can get sick of eating a certain thing every time. So I try to switch it up, and sometimes I just get chips and guac. Or my teammates are like, "Girl, we just had our game. Can we get some chips and guac for the group on the bus ride to the airport?" So we'll sometimes just do that or little things like that. But try to keep it different.
I love that. Last question I got for you. We've seen the success of shows like Heated Rivalry bringing in new audiences and new fans into hockey. You had NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman say he watched the entire series and he thought it was really fascinating. I'm curious, have you watched Heated Rivalry yet? And what do you think about the new influx of fans that are coming because of this?
I have not. I have some big travel days ahead of me, so I've been saving some of my favorite shows for that. And I know our captain Hillary Knight has watched it, and she's given her audience on TikTok kind of a spiel about what she thought about it. So I'm interested to kind of talk to my team about it. But anytime you have a show that is going to create this influx of fans into the sport, whether it's for the sport or whether it's for the actors in the show or the movie. I know our team's talked about it. It's obviously something that's bringing in great press. Really excited that the two main stars of the show are going to be flag bearers at the Olympics. I think
Mhm.
that's super cool. How a show can bring people together. It's like the sport of hockey. We feel that on a very deep level that we want community and we want our fans to feel like they're a part of our journey. And I feel like that's kind of what Heated Rivalry does as well.
Well, Taylor Heise of the Minnesota Frost and the U.S. Women's Olympic team, best of luck in Italy. We're all rooting for you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.